Single Dad laughed. You could just move in here. He froze when the coldest CEO knocked on his door tonight. If you're enjoying this heartwarming story of unexpected love and second chances, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that remind us all that life's greatest surprises often come when we least expect them. The knock came at exactly 11:47 p.m. Marcus Reeves stood in his cramped kitchen, elbow deep in soapy water, the remnants of a late dinner still soaking in the sink. His 5-year-old daughter Lily had finally fallen asleep after 3 bedtime stories and 2 glasses of water, her standard delaying tactics. The small 2-bedroom apartment was quiet except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the occasional drip from the leaky faucet he'd been meaning to fix for weeks. When the knock came, 3 precise, measured taps, Marcus froze. Nobody visited this late. Especially not on a Tuesday in December when the temperature had plummeted below freezing and the forecast promised snow by morning. He dried his hands on a dish towel, glanced at the baby monitor showing Lily's peaceful sleeping form, and moved cautiously toward the door. Through the peephole, he saw her, Alexandra Winters, CEO of Winters Enterprises, the woman known throughout the business world as the Ice Queen. The same woman who, just 8 hours earlier, had sat across from him in her immaculate corner office on the 47th floor of the Winters Tower and coldly rejected his proposal for a small business loan. The same woman to whom he had jokingly said, "Well, unless you want to move in here and help with the bills, I guess I'll have to figure something else out." Marcus opened the door, his heart hammering against his ribs. Alexandra Winters stood perfectly poised despite the late hour, her tailored charcoal coat dusted with snowflakes, an overnight bag clutched in her gloved hand. "You said I could move in," she stated, her voice betraying the slightest tremor. "I'm here to accept your offer." 3 months earlier, Marcus had been just another struggling single father, juggling his fledgling bakery business with raising Lily after her mother had walked out 2 years ago. His tiny storefront, Reeves Sweet Creations, had developed a loyal neighborhood following, but he needed capital to expand if he ever hoped to provide the stable future Lily deserved. Alexandra Winters had built Winters Enterprises from the ground up, transforming her father's failing manufacturing company into a diversified business empire through sheer determination and an uncompromising approach to leadership. At 36, she was feared and respected in equal measure, her reputation for emotional detachment earning her the nickname that followed her through boardrooms across the country. What no one knew, what Alexandra herself barely acknowledged, was how empty her penthouse apartment felt each night, how the success she'd sacrificed everything for had left her with everything and nothing simultaneously. Their worlds should never have collided. But fate has a peculiar sense of humor. "Ms. Winters?" Marcus managed, his voice catching. "What are you doing here?" Alexandra's perfectly composed expression flickered for just a moment. "May I come in? It's rather cold out here." Marcus stepped aside automatically, his mind racing. The Alexandra Winters who stepped into his modest apartment looked different from the formidable executive he'd met earlier that day. There was something vulnerable in her eyes that he hadn't noticed before. "I apologize for the late hour," she said, removing her gloves with deliberate care. "And for taking your joke literally. But I need to explain something to you." From down the hall came the sound of small feet padding across carpet. Lily appeared in the doorway of the living room, rubbing her eyes, her favorite stuffed rabbit dangling from one hand. "Daddy? Who's the pretty lady?" Alexandra froze, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of the small girl in unicorn pajamas. "This is Ms. Winters," Marcus said, moving to lift Lily into his arms. "She's a business associate who apparently needs a place to stay tonight." "Like a sleepover?" Lily asked, suddenly more awake. Alexandra's carefully constructed facade cracked just enough for Marcus to glimpse something raw beneath. "Something like that," she said softly. After settling Lily back to sleep, Marcus returned to find Alexandra standing exactly where he'd left her, as if afraid to disturb anything in the apartment. "Coffee?" he offered. "It's late, but I have a feeling this conversation might require caffeine." She nodded, following him to the small kitchen where he began measuring grounds into the filter. "My building is being evacuated," she said abruptly. "A gas leak. They're saying it could be days before it's safe to return." Marcus turned to face her. "And you came here? Don't you have, I don't know, luxury hotels at your disposal? Friends? Family?" Alexandra's gaze dropped to the worn linoleum floor. "Hotels are all booked due to the technology conference in town. My assistant is out of the country. And family." She paused. "That's not an option. So you remembered my joke and thought, why not take the desperate baker up on his offer?" Marcus couldn't keep the edge from his voice. "I remembered that you were kind," she said quietly. "Even after I rejected your loan application. You didn't become angry or bitter. You made a joke and wished me well. Do you know how rare that is in my world?" The coffee maker gurgled between them, filling the silence with its comforting domestic sound. One night, Marcus finally said, "You can take my bed. I'll sleep on the couch." "I couldn't possibly. It's that or nothing, Ms. Winters. I'm too tired to argue." For the first time since he'd met her, Alexandra Winters smiled, a small, hesitant thing, but genuine. "Please, call me Alex. And thank you." One night turned into two when the gas company discovered the problem was more extensive than initially thought. 2 nights became 3 when a winter storm shut down the city, making travel impossible. By the 4th day, something extraordinary had begun to happen. Alexandra Winters, the woman whose icy demeanor had intimidated boardrooms across the country, was thawing. It started with breakfast. Marcus had awakened to find her in his kitchen, attempting to make pancakes for Lily, flour dusting her designer sweater, frustration evident in the tight line of her mouth as the batter stuck to the pan. "You have to let the pan heat properly first," he said, stepping in beside her. "Here, let me show you." Their fingers brushed as he took the spatula, and he couldn't help noticing how she didn't immediately pull away. Later that day, when Lily insisted on building a blanket fort in the living room, Alexandra had hesitated only briefly before allowing herself to be pulled into their small world of imagination. By evening, she was sitting cross-legged on the floor, her hair falling loose from its usual perfect arrangement, laughing as Lily crowned her queen of the fort. Marcus watched from the doorway, a strange tightness in his chest. This woman bore little resemblance to the CEO who had dismissed his business plan with clinical efficiency. "She likes you," he said later, after Lily had finally surrendered to sleep. Alexandra sat on the couch, a mug of tea warming her hands. "She's an extraordinary child. You've done an amazing job with her." "It hasn't been easy," Marcus admitted, taking the seat beside her. "Her mother left when Lily was 3. Said she never wanted to be a parent in the first place." "I'm sorry," Alexandra said, and he could tell she meant it. "What about you? No family at all?" She stared into her tea. "My parents died when I was in college. Car accident. I was an only child. After that, I just focused on the business. It was easier than dealing with the loss." "And no one special in your life?" A bitter smile crossed her face. "Men are generally intimidated by me. The few relationships I've attempted ended when they realized I wouldn't give up my career to play the supportive wife." "Their loss," Marcus said simply. Alexandra looked up, surprise evident in her eyes. "Most people think there's something wrong with me. That I'm cold. Unfeeling." "I don't think you're cold," Marcus said. "I think you're protecting yourself." "I get that. I've been doing the same thing since Lily's mom left." Something shifted between them in that moment, a recognition, perhaps, of kindred spirits despite their vastly different lives. On the 5th day, Alexandra received word that her building was safe to re-enter. She stood in Marcus's living room, overnight bag packed, an unfamiliar hesitation in her posture. "I should go," she said, though she made no move toward the door. "You could stay for dinner," Marcus offered. "Lily will be disappointed if she comes home from her playdate and you're gone." "Just dinner," Alexandra agreed too quickly. Dinner stretched into an evening of board games and laughter. When Lily finally went to bed, Alexandra helped Marcus clean up, their movements around the small kitchen falling into an easy rhythm that felt strangely familiar. "I've been thinking about your business proposal," she said suddenly, placing the last plate in the cabinet. Marcus stilled. "Oh. It was a good plan. Solid. I rejected it because the return on investment wasn't significant enough for a company our size." She turned to face him. "But I've been thinking about establishing a small business division. Focused on community investment rather than pure profit. And my bakery would qualify for this hypothetical division? It would be the first investment." She hesitated. "If you're still interested." Marcus studied her face, trying to understand what had changed. "Why?" Alexandra looked away. "Because I've spent 5 days in your world, Marcus. I've seen how you interact with your daughter, with your neighbors, even with the delivery person who brought our takeout. You care about people. Your bakery isn't just a business to you, it's a way to bring joy to your community." She met his gaze again. "The world needs more of that. And what would Winters Enterprises get out of this arrangement?" A smile touched her lips. "Excellent pastries. And perhaps, a reminder of why we do what we do in the first place." 2 weeks later, the loan was approved. 1 month after that, construction began on the expanded Reeves Suite Creations, with a new kitchen and seating area that would double the bakery's capacity. Alexandra found reasons to visit the construction site regularly. Her executive assistant noted with surprise that the CEO had begun blocking off Friday afternoons for community investment oversight, which seemed to coincide with Lily's early dismissal from kindergarten. For his part, Marcus discovered that the Ice Queen was anything but cold once you broke through her carefully constructed defenses. She was passionate, intelligent, and possessed a dry wit that often caught him off guard. More surprisingly, she was wonderful with Lily, never talking down to her or treating her questions as unimportant. The night before the bakery's grand reopening, Alexandra arrived at their apartment with champagne and sparkling cider for Lily. "A toast," she said, after Marcus had poured their drinks. "To new beginnings." "To new beginnings," he echoed, watching as she knelt to clink glasses with an excited Lily. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, they stood together on the small balcony overlooking the city lights. "I never thanked you," Marcus said quietly. "For the loan? It was a sound business decision." "No. For showing up at my door that night. For being brave enough to ask for help." Alexandra was silent for a long moment. "I've been thinking about that night a lot," she finally said. "About why, of all places, I came here. And I think I was tired of being alone. Of being the Ice Queen." She turned to face him. "You made a joke about me moving in, and something inside me just wanted that. Wanted to be part of something warm and real." Marcus took a step closer. "And now? Now I know what I was missing." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "And I'm terrified of going back to my empty penthouse and my empty life." Marcus reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Then don't." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that Lily asks about you every day when you're not here. I'm saying that this apartment feels wrong when you're not in it." He took a deep breath. "I'm saying that maybe my joke wasn't really a joke after all." Alexandra's eyes widened. "Marcus. I know it's crazy. We come from different worlds. You run a multinational corporation, and I bake cinnamon rolls for a living. But these past few months, they've meant something. At least to me." "To me too," she admitted softly. "So maybe, you could just move in here. For real this time." The smile that bloomed across Alexandra's face was like sunrise breaking through clouds. "Are you sure?" Instead of answering, Marcus leaned forward and kissed her, gently at first, then with growing certainty as she responded, her arms sliding around his neck. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "Is that a yes?" Alexandra Winters, the woman once known as the coldest CEO in the business world, laughed, a sound of pure, unbridled joy. "Yes. Yes, it's a yes." 1 year later, Reeves Sweet Creations had expanded to 3 locations across the city. Winters Enterprises Community Investment Division had funded 15 small businesses, creating jobs and revitalizing neighborhoods that had long been overlooked by traditional investors. And in a cozy apartment that had somehow expanded to accommodate 3 lives intertwined, Alexandra Winters sat at the kitchen table helping Lily with her homework while Marcus prepared dinner. Her laptop was open beside her, emails from executives around the world waiting for her attention, but for now, they could wait. "Alex," Lily said, looking up from her math worksheet, "are you going to be my mom forever now?" Alexandra's breath caught. She looked up to find Marcus watching them, love evident in his eyes. "Would you like that?" she asked carefully. Lily nodded emphatically. "Daddy says you make us complete." "Well," Alexandra said, her voice thick with emotion, "your daddy makes me complete too." Later that night, as they lay together in the darkness, Marcus pulled her close. "You know, sometimes I still can't believe you showed up at my door that night." Alexandra smiled against his chest. "Best decision I ever made." "Better than that merger in Singapore?" "Much better," she laughed. "That only made me richer. This made me happier." Outside, snow began to fall, coating the city in a blanket of white. But inside, where once there had been loneliness and uncertainty, there was now warmth, laughter, and the kind of love that transforms lives, all because a desperate joke had been taken seriously, and a cold CEO had found the courage to knock on a door. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that remind us all that love can find us in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes the greatest chapters of our lives begin with a simple knock on the door.